Hey guys, welcome to the Off Limits Podcast, the podcast that, as the name implies, has no limits, no forbidden subject, no line we won't cross, and definitely we might ruffle some feathers today. I am your host, the most Will Buchanan, and hopefully in this discussion you'll join me as we do talk about, as you can see from the title of this, Let's Stop the Cap. But before I get to that, guys, let me stress very heavily, this is an adult podcast. Language is not going to be watched. At the same time, like I said, come to this with an open mind. I'm going to try to as much as humanly possible, but I will point out the holes in the argument, if you will. But again, you come to this with an open mind, and therefore everybody's gravy. But you've been warned. So, aside from that, welcome. So, how do we describe this topic? I know a lot of people going, let's stop the cap. I said, yeah. Let's stop the cap. And the reason why and the reason how we got to this subject, was because, TikTok is the main place for a lot of things these days. And yours truly does surf on it quite a lot. Even to the point to where I found one that had to give me pause that I even commented on. Trust me, it's worth it.
Choose a woman that wants you. Not for the things that you can provide for her, not because of the trips that you can give to her, because these things, they fade away. It's about it's about you. And that is the thing that I want men to know. She wants you. What men have a problem with understanding and accepting is that men are being conditioned to believe that it is the money. I'm not saying that men don't need to provide. Yes, provision is amazing. Provision is amazing. But I promise you, when a woman loves you and she is with you, she feels that connection to you, it's you that she craves. But what really ignites a man is the agreeableness and the friendship. And agreeableness is not about being a yes woman. It is about a woman who's going to say yes to the larger vision. So that yes might look like a no sometimes, because you might say, oh, I got the money, I got the bag, I'm about to buy this. She might be like, no. That's not the vision, but yes, put the money here. That's the kind of woman that a man wants. Choose a woman that wants you, not for the things that you can provide for her, not because of the trips that you can give to her, because these things, they fade away. It's about it's about you. And that is the thing that I want men to know. She wants you. What men have a problem with understanding and accepting is that men are being conditioned to believe that it is the money. I'm not saying that men don't need to provide. Yes, provision is amazing. Provision is amazing. But I promise you, when a woman loves you and she is with you, she feels that connection to you, it's you that she craves. But what really ignites a man is the agreeableness and the friendship. And agreeableness is not about being a yes woman. It is about a woman who's going to say yes to the larger vision. So that yes might look like a no sometimes, because you might say, oh, I got the money, I got the bag, I'm about to buy this. She might be like, no. That's not the vision, but yes, put the money here. That's the kind of woman that a man wants.
Okay, so that was 8 at the table on TikTok. Feel free to follow them there. So I gotta put this ever so nicely. The first thing that when I saw this, immediately my head, it went cap. I couldn't help but sit here and say cap. Not only because the title, as you guys can clearly see, where it says men need to choose a woman that want him for who he is, not what he has. Let me blow it up a little bit bigger. Men need to choose a woman that want him for who he is, not for what he has. Y'all, as a guy, number one, I cringe. I cringe so much. Number one, whenever a woman is telling you what men need to do, I hate to break it to you, but that's an immediate turnoff for us. Well, men need to do that. Well, what men need to do when they're choosing a woman, here's the thing. Men don't really choose. Now, granted, yes, to a certain extent, we choose who we're interested in. no problem. We do choose who we're interested in. We do try to shoot our shot, if you will. But what is amazing to me is the fact that she's speaking in the past tense, where choose a woman that is for you, not for what you can do. And I have an excellent counterpoint to that. And the counterpoint I have to that is by one Chris Rock, who in my mind gives the most truest statement about men and being accepted by women.
Only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally.
Hold up, that is a terrible quality. Hang on, guys. Let's try this one.
Only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. Women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. A man is only loved under the condition that he provides some. Only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. Women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. A man is only loved under the condition that he provides some.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's the part where I'm trying to get to, because when we go back to what old girl said, because I was commenting a lot on that particular TikTok, because the first thing I sat there and said was, that's cap. That's cap. And I referenced that. I said, I have never, and for all those that think I am kidding, you think I didn't go to war on this thing? Hang on a second. Because when I tell you I went to the moon with this one, I really did. Because I had to say, I had to say it. I had to say it to the point to where it was like,
choose a woman that wants you,
where I'm coming from.
not for the things that you can. Choose a woman that wants.
Okay, sorry, had to mute it. We're kind of working sideways here. So I want to show this real quick. So in case people are thinking I'm crazy, I was literally on here, right? And I'm gonna say quote for quote what I said. I'm sorry, but that's cap. I've never heard a woman say I'm with him because of who he is. They always say he does ABC for me. Now, every guy I know, because I say this all the time, show me a woman that whenever she talks to her friends, has she ever said, I'm with him because of who he is? I'm with him because of who he is, not what he does for me. Oh, you probably heard some bangers. Oh, I just love how attentive he is to me. I love that he surprises me. I love that he spoils me. I love that he gives me gifts. I love that he takes me out. I love that he shows me off. I love that he brings me around his friends. I love the fact that he's so unashamed at how he shows his affection toward me. So you know what I said out of all those statements? Go back to what I said about all those statements. Nothing about him is what a woman will brag about. What a woman will brag about is what he does for her, especially if it's something that she wasn't getting in previous relationships. So the fact of the matter that she's sitting there saying men need to choose a woman that is for him tells me that she is very, very, and you can argue with me in the comments if you want to, she is very unaware of the inequality when it comes to acceptance by men and women. And I stand by this. I'm in a relationship, damn near about to be married. I will stand on this, no problem. Because no woman will ever be under the same level as acceptance as men do with women. Let me explain. For most women, you are looking for a protector, a provider. You're looking for someone that's going to give you security, that's going to make you feel safe, not just financials, but you're looking for someone with goals, dreams, ambitions to be on the same vibe level as you are, or at least somewhere relevant. For a lot of you, some of y'all are looking for broken projects, but the point I'm making is you have this list of things that you want, and some of y'all are basic. Well, he got to have a job. He got to have at least a car. He's at least got to have an apartment, house, definitely, apartment at least. He can't be up under his. He can't be up under. He can't be up under his parents. He can't be up under his baby mama if he's got one. He can't be up under anybody except under his own 2 feet. You have all of these check marks. And I don't fault you for that. I don't fault reasonable. I do not fault, and I say this all, and I'll say this before we move forward. I do not fault reasonable standards that the person from a woman, that the man that you're interested in, or a woman, or anybody that, it's a different time in 2022, whoever you may be interested in. I understand that you have certain standards in place that they have to follow in order to make you feel better about spending your time with them. I get it. Fathers tell their daughters this all the time. Mothers tell their daughters this all the time. Don't mess with a man if he ain't got a job. Don't you mess with a man if he doesn't got this going for him. Don't you mess with a man if he ain't at least this. We tell our daughters, we tell our future generations this only because we want them to avoid the men that are simply not worth their time. We constitute that cycle, and rightly so. But at the same time, what are we telling the men? That's the thing. Because as men, no one ever told us that in order for, it's like, no, I mean, they may have told us that she ain't going to take no slob, but you could sit there and have a job. You can sit there, have a car. You can sit there, have a home. You can do very well for yourself. You can have plans and ambitions out the wazoo. But what it comes down to it, simply put, is that, well, what can you do for me? Because that's what it comes down to. Think of acceptance. That's why I said the cap is real. The cap is real because the individuals I was speaking with on that particular TikTok all seem to have different viewpoints. And I kept saying the entire time, you guys are jumping from post to post, because that's what most people do when they don't have a standing still argument. Like, for example, I'll give one where one person says, these are the types of women too. I once heard a wife say to her husband, I would love you even if we were in a box. I questioned it, but it's true. It's deep. But I sat there and said, look at your statement though. You said a wife would say to her husband, that means we're looking at post activity. Time was spent. Time was already spent. We're talking about at the beginning stages. And this is why I say it's cap. Because no woman, and I say this with all the respect in the world, no woman is going to give time to a man that isn't showing himself to be of some value to her. And I'm not just saying monetary. I mean, there has to be something there of value to her, not the fact of him, because I sat there and said it. And again, eight at the table on TikTok. You can go to that particular post. I sat there and said multiple times during that post, you're telling me as a woman, would you accept a man as he is in the same way women want to be accepted by men? You know what I got on that post? Crickets. I went back to check to see if somebody was going to argue it, or at least say, no, Will, you're wrong. I have yet to see it. And I point this out because we need to stop this whole this double standard, but we also need to stop the cap on this. We need to stop the cap on women sitting there saying, you need to choose your women wisely. It's not the fact of choosing, because every woman is visible. And that's the thing I want to point out about the whole thing about providing. Men have to show themselves a value. I'm not the first person to say it. I surely will not be the last person to say it. But men have to show themselves of some value to be visible. Unless the only exception to that rule is that women find you physically attractive. If women find you physically attractive, guess what? You're visible. If women don't find you attractive, you're invisible. You are. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, because for a lot of women, physical attraction, just like us, we're just invested in the physical attraction as you are. And for the simple fact of the matter, for us, it's not as deep, because men will walk up to a woman just off physical attraction alone and shoot their shot. We do it all the time. Well, I don't do it. I don't do it, but I'm, like I said, about to be married. But other men, even myself when I was single, even myself before I was single, shoot my shot all the time. Did it hit? Not always. Did it hit the rim sometimes? Yeah, sure. But men do that because that is how we approach. That's how we accept women. We never look at a woman and go, what can she do for me? Because again, women may control, and this has been said by many people, women control a lot of things. Y'all control interest. You control you control if whether or not you give up the cookie. You control whether or not how far we go. You control a lot of things. But what you don't control is what men have over, which is access to relationships. And that's the thing. Where if we approach a woman and we're approaching a woman to get to know her better, we don't know anything about her up front. Women in that same sense, it's almost like you guys either have to roll the dice on us or you have to talk to us first to see if we're worth your time. And I understand that. This is why I stand and say I understand that, because for a woman, it's got to be like, going back to what we said, you're telling a woman who was once a young girl that, hey, do not waste your time on a man that is not worth. Do not waste your time on a man that's not worth it. If he is not worthy of you, then you don't need to waste your time. We always say that to women. We say it to young girls and also young women. So what happens when young women actually find themselves talking to a man? They are going to gauge him. They are going to see in conversation, because a lot of them like to say, I got to talk to you first. I got to talk to you first to see if we're compatible. Cool. Nothing wrong with that. Conversation saves the nation. It is completely uncool. It's completely cool, completely understandable. Because in that conversation, they're trying to figure you out. They're trying to see if you're leveling up to your standards. Cool. Men can't do that. You know why men can't do that? Because here's why. Men can't do that because if we started, and I say this all the time, if we started, because that's the whole thing. You know what? Actually, we have started. Because you know why we started? You know when that started? When we started asking, what do you bring to the table? When a lot of men out there started asking, what do you bring to the table question, and you saw the uproar from some women. You saw that uproar of, oh, how dare you ask me what I bring to the table? How about what you bring to the table? They turn around on us. You asking if a woman could cook, clean, and do all this stuff. Can you build a house? Can you do plumbing? Can you do electrical? Because a lot of women miss the whole idea behind what do you bring to the table. But that what do you bring to the table question was the first experiment in doing exactly it was the first experiment in what a man would do to a woman in the same sense what women already do to men. You just don't ask what we bring to the table. You ask us, well, what's your dreams? What's your goals? What's your ambitions? What do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing? Oh, well, you're doing this. Okay, cool. Oh, you're on the career path. Okay, cool. Because they are asking probing questions to see where your head's at versus men, because we don't know how to be subtle. I'll stand behind that. We as men don't know how to be subtle. We flat out ask, what do you bring to the table? Because we're tired of the rigmarole in the game, so we just get down to it. And that's why a lot of women miss that question, because it's not always about what you can do. It's what you can provide. Because again, going back to what she says, men need to choose a woman that want him for who he is, not what he has. Good luck finding those women. Because every woman I ran into had to literally make sure I was worth her time. Had to make sure. So men can't buy, men in reality, which is why I'm saying stop the cap, can't sit there and choose a woman that want him for who he is. That would imply that there has been previous conversation and possible chances of shooting his shot beforehand. Because aside from that, it's a crapshoot. But even so, if the man cannot add, and the thing that individual is not saying, if the man cannot add value, if he cannot add value to where she benefits, that alone will probably X him out from anything else. We'll probably X him out. Even one woman sat there and whoops, sorry. Even one woman sat there and said, let me go to this real quick. Hang on 1 second, guys, because I need to go back to exactly what she said. Because actually, one woman, I will give her credit for this, because she sat there. I mean, a lot of women try to come at me, and that's fine, because I like conversation. I like conversation. I'm not mad about it. But here's the thing that I love right here is what this individual says. Abigail. Actually, it's muted. It ain't gonna do anything. So this person right here, after it says, as the opposite gender, after you like a man for who he is not looking at. Wait, let's try this again, because that sentence, as the opposite gender, after you like a man for who he is not looking at what he does, still ends up cheating. So all he can do for me is more of a defense mechanism / fear. At least I will gain something or benefit somehow, even if he ends up cheating, mistreating me as the years go by. Think about it. And I sat there and when I saw that, I literally went back to her and I sat there and said, there it is, honesty. That regardless of the situation, self-preservation will always be a goal for women. And as toxic as that sounds, that's the reason why what she said, one of the many reasons why what she said was cap. That if you have women out here who are half-heartedly entertaining men, but at the same time always having a contingency strategy in case things go south, but the self-preservation and the value of what she can get out of it is always there, that alone tells you everything you want to know. That's why men are more picky these days. That's why men are about as selective in who they choose to spend their time with. That's why a lot of women, and here's the thing. I kept saying throughout this entire post, and I'm going to repeat this again. I sat there and said, if that's the case, will women look at men on the same level as men look at women? Ergo, could you look at them and get to know them without worrying about what they can do for you? Because as men, let's be honest, as men, when we see a woman, we're only kind of thinking about one thing. And of course, that's just our biological functions. And especially if you have, and I'm gonna be real, if you have certain attributes that we like, if you have certain, and I say this with all the respect in the world, if you have certain attributes that we like, of course, that's going to get our attention. Of course, we're going to want to be as human. We're going to want to be as close as possible. That's just biology in its wonderful ways. But that's physical attraction. Men are always going to be physically attracted. If you see a nice ass or a nice rack or hair or eyes or shape or figure or all the above, you are going to be interested. You are going to go up there and go shoot your shot. You're going to try to strike up a conversation. You're going to try to get her number, or at least get her to take down your number, because we all know women give out fake numbers sometimes. But again, it's the thing is just that a woman choosing a man for who he is, it just seems like a foreign concept. It seems like a foreign concept because I have yet to run into a man that says that happened for him. Because every time, and I say this all the time, I have yet to see a woman. I even sat there selling that post thinking there was going to be somebody who's going to come up and sit there and say, you know what, Will, you're wrong. You're so wrong. Because my husband has a beautiful soul. And they're not going to think about what I said. Because I don't know. Because this is the reason why I had to point out to the other person. I had pointed out to the other person because she sat there and talked about the wife loving the husband if they were even in a box. Well, before they became wife and husband, what did he do? What did he do to make her believe that regardless of the situation, she was going to be a ride or die? Because that's the thing. That, my friends, that is the whole picture. That's the point I was trying to get to with them. Because it's easy to talk about the post activity. It is so easy to talk about the post activity. But the reason why we say let's stop the cap, because women do not think like men. I'm sorry, Steve Harvey lied to you. You listen to a comedian who's been divorced 3 times for relationship advice. The only thing that man can help you, the only thing a divorcee can help you do is figure out the divorce process in an expedited fashion. That's it. 3 times, that man, all he can help you do is give you a good divorce lawyer. The point I am making is that women cannot think like men because men do not try to think like women. We have different wavelengths as far as conclusions that we reach in our lives. That being said, the fact that you saying men need to choose a woman that want him for who he is, we don't know, because all our lives, it's always been what we can do. We've been told, hey, when you have a family, you protect and provide for them. You go to work, so you make sure there's food on them. You make sure there's food on the plates, a roof over their head, house on their clothes. House on their clothes. You make sure that there's food on their plate, a roof on their head, and clothes on their back. But that's what we're supposed to do. As men, we are supposed to provide for our families. That has always been what has been instilled in us. But here's also the thing as well, because this is why I say women are going to be more in touch with their emotions than men are. That's why it's amazing. That's why it's, and I'm just being honest, it's a strange concept for individuals such as yourself to think that, oh, well, we can do what you do because, we see it differently. You may see it differently, but it doesn't change the fact that it's cap. And the fact that, like I said, go to TikTok, the comments are there. I mean, there's a lot of comments. I had time today. I apologize. I had time today. But what I'm saying is, guys, is we're getting to the end of this. And feel free in the comments to let me know what you guys thought about this as well. But the main thing is, I've always said it, but I'm saying this because the conclusion I come to on this, if men do not provide, men are alone. And some men are perfectly good alone. But for us and women in today's society, that is the conclusion I come to. Because number one, how many women are going to be with a man that does not show any value to them? If he sat there and if a man tomorrow walked up to you and said, all I have is myself. I don't have any money. I don't have any skills. I don't have anything else I could offer you but me, mind, body, and soul. Let's be honest. If a man did that to you, would you really stick with him? Would you really? Yes or no? Like I said, I would like to know, because in my mind, I don't think you can. I don't think for a lot of women they wouldn't do that. A lot of women will immediately begin to analyze and criticize. Oh, why don't you have a job? Why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? Why don't they go investigative mode? Because you know why? Self-preservation. Why should I spend any time with this man if he has nothing to offer me? And we've come full circle. We've come full circle because when it comes down to it, men are only selected initially. Now, that may change as the relationship may grow, but that initial relationship is what can he do for me? What can he do for me? What do I get out of it? And if the man sticks around long enough, then you go to this whole thing of I would be with you regardless. Why? Because I've proven my value to you. Women don't got to do that. They don't. Women don't have to do that at all. You know what women mostly have to do? Women mostly have to just literally get our attention and invite us enough to where we feel like we not only can we be with this person, but to the point to where for a lot of guys, they'll marry him. Because I say it like this. It is so women get a little bit bent out of shape where they say, well, I'm not going to spend all day dating someone if it's not leading anywhere. My opinion, don't date. Now, again, if you're dating somebody, now I will also say this: if you're dating somebody 9 or 10, you know what? No. If you're dating somebody 5 years and going on, you've made your bed. Now I will say this: I will say you can't rush a man, but at the same time, I will say, dang, bro, 5 years, either get married or get single. If that's what she wants, because a lot of women may not want to get married either. A lot of women may not want to go through the whole process of getting married. They just want companionship, which again is fine. But for a lot of women out here these days, they're like, I'm trying to be a wife. I'm trying to be this. And they will put sometimes reasonable, not always reasonable, sometimes reasonable standards. Sometimes it's like I heard one where it says, if I'm dating, I got to be married inside 3 years. So you're basically not only manipulating this relationship, but now you're putting in an expiration date to where if this guy doesn't figure out what he wants, you're going to move on. If I honestly heard that, I would have been like, I'm sorry, you can go. I am not going to work on your time schedule. I'm not. If you feel like you need to be somewhere inside of A, B, and C and will not wait for me to reach to your level, then I would usually sit there. I mean, if I was single, I usually would sit there and say, go find somebody that's more your speed. I would not be the person you think I am. But if I give you value, and that's another thing I'm going to say, a lot of women do that. They will sit there and stick with somebody. It's like, oh, we've been together. Why can't he see that I'm here for the long run? Because in the same sense, how he was hoping you would just accept him. He had to prove himself to you. And by proving himself, what value he got. So once you saw his value and said, yes, I will give you my time and attention, you immediately want to turn around and be like, why doesn't he feel the same way? Because he thinks differently than you. That's it. He'll come around. He may come to that same conclusion. It just may take longer. But for some women, they do get impatient. And it's those same women who are on that TikTok right now who try to sit there and tell me, oh, man, you've been hurt. You've been all this. I said, man, I'm not hurt. I'm not hurt. I'm not insulted. I am merely speaking from a side where you guys are trying to speak on our behalf. And that's why I'm saying it's cap. Because what you believe a working relationship is not the real world. Men can't choose women for who he is. Because men have to always continuously prove who they are to be visible. If a man has no value, he is invisible to the world. That's the truth. A woman, regardless if she's beautiful or not, will always be visible to a man. I always said best, I don't care how beautiful or how ugly a woman is, she will always be seen. However, as a man, you can be completely visible in a crowded room if your value is not known. or what you can provide, if the value of what you can do for someone else is not known, you can be invisible in a crowded ass room. And that is an all too true reality for a lot of us. That's all I'm saying. But that's going to do it for this podcast, guys. I do thank you all for liking, for watching, for sharing, for talking, because I know we definitely did hit. Like I said, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers, but I'm trying to engage conversation. That's all I'm trying to do. So before I do get out of here, guys, I do want some shameless plugging. First off, shout out to my buddy Yvonne, BigBZA on all socials. Definitely check him out, as well as his TikTok, as he usually has new beats. And of course, what is Big BZ thinking? Myself, Black Fox 447, definitely check me out on all socials. I usually post everywhere things that I watch and play, and also my gym stuff, because I do a couple push-ups. Also, the ticker at the bottom, let me make that just a wee bit bigger. If you copy and paste that particular, there we go. If you copy and paste that particular link into your browser, it'll take you to a link to the YouTube and Facebook groups for all of my podcasts. How the Fabric Got Here, Get Bit, of course, the Off-Limits Podcast. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. And really, I want to know what you guys are thinking. Do we really need to stop the cap on how women are telling us to find women that are in it for us and not what we can provide? Because honestly, I respect that woman's opinion on Hit the Table on TikTok, but at the same time, it definitely is cap. There's just no way around it. But as again, we wrap this up, guys. We are going to get better about doing this podcast on a weekly basis. So I do apologize for the hiatus, but I promise it will get better as it goes along. Like I said, I want to engage in conversation. No hate, no harassment, but we have to be open and honest with each other, which means that yes, it's going to be brutal conversations, but at the same time, it's going to be conversations that both sides can learn something by walking away from. So with that being said, guys, thank you all for watching. If you're watching this back on the playback, please comment if it's live. I still want to know what you guys thought about everything we talked about. Aside from that, guys, take care of yourselves and each other.